everyone. I want to thank everyone so much for coming out. My name is Pat Hayes, and I am a volunteer site steward with the Forest Preserves of Cook County. That means I'm certified to lead people to do work that you normally can't do, restoration activities, but our group is also very active in outreach, as you can see. This is usually our annual Summer's End, where we take people on free guided hikes and just really show off the splendor of this site. And for those of us who have been here over the years, what a remarkable journey and what a great piece of joy it is to witness something that came in as highly degraded and now it is filled with native species, plants, birds, animals of all sorts. So this has been a great thing for our community. I'd like to get started this morning with our program. We are celebrating ahead of schedule of our Summer's End. We're celebrating the culmination of the Army Corps plan that's been in place for 5 years here. They came in with millions of dollars, yahoo, and they came in with a lot of hard work. Seed, they disabled the drain tile, they got rid of trees that don't belong here, and it really provided a foundation for restoration now to continue for generations. Our first speaker for today is General Superintendent Arnold Randall with the Forest Preserves of Cook County. Arnold Randall is the General Superintendent and is responsible for the day-to-day management of the nation's oldest and largest forest preserve system. Since Randall's appointment to the post in 2010 by Forest Preserve District President Tony Preckwinkle, the district has streamlined its operations to better serve the public, expanded its resource management department to most effectively implement its mission of preserving and protecting the natural lands and beauty of Cook County, and is developing master camping and recreation plans to introduce new recreational opportunities for the region's residents. The Forest Preserves of Cook County and also our collaborating partners, without this collaboration that General Superintendent Arnold is a leader in, Orland Grasslands could not happen. So I would like to welcome General Superintendent.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Got a beautiful day. I was really sweating it out a little bit yesterday. The weather was really tough. We had a lot of damage, unfortunately. But it looks beautiful here today, and I'm really looking forward to doing a walk here today with Pat. And I just want to first start by thanking Pat and all the volunteers. You've been really committed, obviously, and when I came on board 3.5 years ago, they reached out to me and said, really want you to come out and see what we're doing and why this is important, and it is really important. And they've been wonderful, and I know they're going to be here until they can't be here anymore, right, Pat? So we thank you for that. I want to recognize Commissioner Gorman. Liz Gorman is Commissioner here and is a wonderful advocate for the Forest Preserves at our board meetings, but in general, she's been great and participated in a lot of our planning efforts since we've been on board, and we really appreciate her leadership on the board and advocating for what we're trying to get done here in the Forest Preserves, and she's been a great partner as well. I want to recognize Colonel Drew, who I just had a chance to meet formally, but as you all know, none of this is happening without the Army Corps. They've been wonderful partners, not just here, but all around the Forest Preserve system here in Cook County and the region. They work with other partners as well. So we're really lucky that they have been so progressive and worked with us, and we want to continue that partnership. It's been wonderful, and we're lucky to have them as well. Jerry Edelman, another wonderful partner, and Jerry, as much as anybody since I've been on board as a superintendent, and Open Lands have been great partners, willing to step up and get involved in really a lot of different aspects of the Forest Preserve system, doing the actual work, obviously, but also helping us with planning and how we're structured, and really been leaders and partners to help us to be a better Forest Preserve system. We had a lot of work to do when we got here 3.5 years ago, and there's a lot of work to do yet. We're not there, but we feel like we're on the right path, and we only can be on the right path if we have real partners who are willing to step up and tell us the hard things maybe we didn't want to hear, but also help us fix them. And Jerry and his team have been wonderful in doing that. So I want to thank you, Jerry, for doing that. And Steve Packard, another great advocate. Steve, where's Steve? There he is, right there. Yep. That hat, you're hiding from me. Steve, obviously, you all know Steve's been around sort of as a leader in restoration since the beginning, and as we obviously owe him a lot to sort of get sounding the alarm and getting people connected early on, and still working out here, still volunteering, still doing a lot of work. And he'll be another, like Pat, will be doing this until he can't do it anymore, right? So we appreciate that. Then Mayor McLaughlin, I understand early on, was a real advocate for what's going on out here. And this is in a wonderful community, and we're lucky to be here, and we love the partnership we have with the village as well. So Orland Grasslands, I mean, this is the initial restoration, you know, and you know, with projects of different types where you're, you know, constructing something and you just say, okay, it's done and now it's open and it's great. With restoration, it always goes on. You know, just the initial work and a lot of the heavy lifting initially, that phase is done. But there'll always be volunteers, there'll always be work going on out here. There'll always be people spending time out here, and that's exactly what we want. We want people committed to the land, we're protecting the land, and tell more people about why this is really important. This is a big deal that we take care and manage our lands. When we have big storm events like we did yesterday, really points out why this is so important, why if this were developed as something else, if this was more hardscape, we'd have more of a problem. And we have really big problems in our region because we've overbuilt and we've not protected our open lands as well as we should have historically. That makes these that much more important. We, as you know, in the last year or so, we purchased land just south of here, calling Orland Grasslands South right now, and to protect that land and keep that as open space in the future as well. So we're trying to do that all around Cook County. It's really important to us that we do that, and you know, it's all of you have a role in protecting it as well and letting more people know. It's also important to know how this got started. Congresswoman Judy Biggert, who I don't think is here, but the Congresswoman really was a strong advocate over 10 years ago to make sure that there was resources here to protect and manage this land, and so we have to thank her, because it doesn't happen without resources, obviously. I had a chance to meet her early on when I came on board, and we talked about it some then. I also want to recognize Joe Roth, who's the man on the ground, you know, for Open Lands here, and Joe and all the Open Lands folks, as well as all the volunteers. You know, it's really important. We can't recognize you enough. There's probably not enough we could do to thank you. You know, just the bottom line is you're actually doing the work, and it would cost us money to do it ourselves, and you're out here doing the work as a volunteer. We really appreciate that. So I'm looking forward to really spending a little time out here walking around and getting a good feel. It's a great day to be out here. I'm going to be out in the preserves all day visiting a lot of locations, but this is the start of my day, and so I'm looking forward to spending some time. I will stop talking now and turn it back over to Pat. Thank you.
I'm a little shorter than he is. Okay. Thank you for all those fine introductions of mentioning all of the collaborating partners that we have. But more than partnering, we have support. And one of those great supporters of ours, and especially of the Orland Grassland volunteers, has been Commissioner Gorman. In 2010, Commissioner Gorman began her third term as Cook County Commissioner, representing the suburban 17th District. She was hailed by the Southtown Star as a strong, consistent, dutiful voice of the Cook County Board for her constituents. And she has repeatedly shown her loyalty ties with the district that encompass much of the southwest suburbs, and also her loyalty ties to Orland Grassland and to the Orland Grassland volunteers. As a member of the Forest Preserve District Board, Commissioner Gorman has been committed to making the forest preserves of Cook County a national leader in the areas of recreation, restoration, and conservation. And we all know how important that three-legged stool is to include all those important components in the Forest Preserve District's image. She has championed many improvements throughout the 17th District, which is home to a substantial amount of forest preserve land, which I'm sure she realizes and appreciates. So I would like to invite Commissioner Gorman to come on up here and say a few things to us.
Thank you, Pat, for that nice introduction. Welcome. This is really, what a great place to reside. To live in a community that really advocates open space. Thank you, Mayor McLaughlin. And then to be encompassed with the Forest Preserve District around it. We're doubly blessed to have this 960-acre parcel out here that is just being restored to its natural beauty. It's hard to believe that we have the incredible construction going around here, major highways, major state roads, county roads that surround this. Because ultimately, behind me, when you take my picture, which I'm really excited about, because I want to Facebook it, they're going to be like, "Where was Liz this weekend?" I didn't know that she was going out of state somewhere. You know, so to have this, we're truly blessed. And those that don't reside here, we're blessed to have you enjoy this phenomenal grassland with us. And just a special thank you and shout out to the volunteers that have made this happen. Thank you so much. I mean, we're extremely happy and welcome to your incredible work under the direction of Pat Hayes, who actually represents the 17th District on the Forest Preserve Advocacy Group. We thank you for your service and for rallying the troops. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gorman. When I first started volunteering out here, and it was thought that I should be a steward, it sort of scared me to death. I thought, oh my gosh. And what I have found is that it's all the volunteers together that make one great steward. So I could not do anything if it wasn't for the support of all of our volunteers. Volunteers, raise your hand. Just, these are the people here who come out all the time and really help us do that day-to-day grunt work. But we enjoy it, and boy, do we get a great benefit from it. Our next person is Colonel Christopher Drew from the Army Corps of Engineers. As commander of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Chicago District, Colonel Drew is responsible for water resources development in the Chicago metro area, an area of about 5,000 square miles, with a population of more than 9 million people. The district's primary mission focuses on flood risk management, storm damage reduction, navigation, environment, regulatory, emergency management, and interagency and international services. So what is Colonel Drew doing out here in a grassland? I have to say that thanks to the disabling the drain tiles, and thanks to the removal of all the invasive trees that were here when they got here, we have some terrific, wonderful ponds and swales that are attracting wildlife like crazy. And also everything that goes along with supporting that wildlife, the insects, the amphibians, all that inhabits the waters that we now have here at Orland Grassland. I'll let him talk a little bit more about that.
Good morning. It's certainly my great personal pleasure to be able to be here this morning to recognize the ribbon cutting for this. I'd also like to say that for the Army Corps of Engineers, it is our pleasure as an organization to be involved in restoration efforts like this as well. This restoration effort is a great example of what we can do for environmental impact areas in an urban environment. I mean, it really is a great example, and it's an example in a number of different ways. First of all, just the sheer number of different groups and partners that have been able to come together to be able to do this restoration is an example not only for our local communities and what we can do, but it is an example across the nation in terms of other districts and other areas as they look at how to do these environmental restorations. It is also a great example of the federal and local partnership. Our ability and our efforts to be able to work with the Forest Preserve and the local agencies has enabled us to be able to reduce some of the challenges in this environment. As we look at it, the erosion piece is a big piece, the loss of the native wildlife and plants that should be here. Working with the Forest Preserve has enabled us to be able to restore this great 658 acres of grasslands to this area. And then the last piece, as we look at it, is the example of what this living laboratory provides to our community. The increase of the native plant life, the flowers, the birds, and everything that's come back to this area, it adds to the environment, it adds to the community, but it also allows people to study and learn about what this really means, and so that's a huge example as well. I would like to be able to thank the scientists, engineers, and construction reps of the Corps of Engineers. In partnership with the contractor Pizzo Associates, we've been able to bring this work together to help the community here. And then finally, I'd like to thank the Forest Preserve as a great partner for us to be able to do this and continue our future efforts to be able to do like work. And so thank you very much.
Thank you. Speaking of the Forest Preserve, I happened to notice some Forest Preserve staff out there. Chip O'Leary's out there. Hi, Chip. Dave Kircher. Dave Kircher's the bike trail guy. Any other staff out there from the district that I'm missing? Raise your hand, because I can't really tell. Oh, and your name?
Jean from Permits, Concessions, and Volunteers.
Okay, Jean from Permits, and
Mary Lynn Griffin, Communications.
Mary Griffin from Communications. So thank you all for coming out here and being a part of our day and being a supporter of this event. Our next speaker is Gerald Edelman. He joined Open Lands in 1980 to coordinate a special program that led to the creation of the Illinois and Michigan Canal National Heritage Corridor, the first federal land designation of its kind. In 1988, Jerry was appointed Executive Director of Open Lands, a regional land conservation organization working in northeastern Illinois and parts of neighboring states. His leadership in creating the Medewan National Tallgrass Prairie, in preserving the Open Lands Lakeshore Preserve, and many other conservation and preservation accomplishments has earned him numerous honors and conservation awards. Open Land has been a strong strategic partner in helping Orland Grassland go forward. Jerry, I've seen you at every conference I've been to, so you get around, you surely do. I'll let you tell us about Orland Grassland and your relationship. Welcome, Jerry.
Thank you very much, Pat, and good morning.
Good morning.
I mean, what an exciting day and perfect weather. I'm not sure who arranged that, but we thank you all. You did. Okay, perfect. Well, you know, it's been said that the forest preserves of Cook County were the first in the nation to develop a system of this scale, and were national leaders, and have reemerged again as true national leaders. And just this past year, developed the Next Century Conservation Plan, which is really visionary, looking to the future, figuring out what are the important connections between society today and the powerful benefits that these tremendous open spaces bring to our economy, to our ecology, to our culture, to the quality of life. And they adopted a vision. It says, people of Cook County will celebrate and nurture our thriving woodlands, prairies, and waters as world-class treasures that sustain our great metropolis. I can't think of a better icon for that vision than what's behind me here. It's amazing. And as has already been acknowledged, one of the reasons it's so great is not just the scale and the importance of it in terms of an ecological restoration, and it is spectacular, but it's all the partners, it's the commitment of public agencies, of not-for-profits, of grassroots, volunteers, everyone coming together at different levels, but sharing their resources, leveraging those resources. And of course, it couldn't happen without the Army Corps of Engineers. And the Chicago District has been a national leader in pioneering important ecological restorations. We've been honored at Open Lands to work with the district in other sites here in Cook County and other parts of our metropolitan Chicago Wilderness region. And it's wonderful to have Colonel Drew here, new leader, but who has clearly embraced this, and he has a great foundation upon which to build, the next generation here of projects, and we're looking forward to many. The Village of Orland Park. Mayor, you have embraced this. Your village has. The library has this magnificent mural. What did they pick as their icon? Again, they picked the grasslands here. That says a lot. And it distinguishes this community from others in every way. And so we thank you for your leadership. Chicago Region Audubon, key partner, helped initially to organize volunteers, have been so important with Pat and her colleagues, and have played such an important role throughout the region. So again, just another example of critical partnerships that really have brought us to this day, which is so significant. And then the volunteers alone, I mean, phenomenal. And we can't thank you enough. And Pat, you and your colleagues are the ones that we look to in the future, because, as has already been said too, this is just the beginning, it's not the end. So Open Lands, we're 51 years old. We work basically in the Chicago Wilderness, a multi-state region, but at the heart is Chicago and Cook County. And, we have been honored to work on this. I also want to acknowledge Joe Roth, who's been such a wonderful leader in all of our restoration work. And Linda Masters, I think, couldn't be with us, but his partner in crime. And we are also working with the Forest Preserve to develop some interpretive elements here that will be going out for bid sometime in the not too distant future. And I think that really underscores the future. If people know this land, they will love it. If they love it, they will care for it. And I think that's what we're all about, is kind of creating this culture of conservation so that people embrace areas like this, recognizing their multiple benefits, how they contribute to the health and wellness of our population, of our brand, of our marketability, that they provide green infrastructure benefits, that they connect us to nature close to where we live. And that's our core mission at Open Lands, is connecting people to nature close to home. So we thank the Forest Preserve. Commissioner, you have been wonderful in all of these things. And we thank the Army Corps and all the others, and especially the volunteers who have made this possible, and we've been honored to be a partner in this project. So congratulations.
Thank you, Jerry. Just a quick little story about the support that we get from our community and the Orland Park Public Library. There was a committee of us who got together to put this event on, the ceremony, and about 2 weeks ago, only 2 weeks ago, it occurred to us, what do we do if it rains? And of course we thought field tents. Well, in a wide open prairie, rain is not the issue, wind is the issue. And we've actually had commercial field tents blow over out here, so that's not an option. I called Mary Weimer, who's the library director. I says, Mary, you got to help me. And she says, what do you need? And I says, we need your presentation room on Saturday morning between 9:30 and noon. And she says, okay, you got it. What do you need? And tell me the equipment you need. And I told her, and she says, okay, you got it. And I says, well, we want to go see that wonderful mural too. And okay, you got it. You guys just have a great morning. 2 weeks out. I mean, that library's booked, for years ahead, and she was able to give us that space. So that tells you what kind of community we have behind us here in support of Orland Grassland. Our next speaker, Stephen Packard. Stephen Packard is founding director of Audubon Chicago Region. He has taught at Northwestern University. His work focuses on conservation action, scientific research, education, grassroots constituency in the Chicago region. Packard was the initiator of many grassroots initiatives of the Chicago Region Biodiversity Council, Chicago Wilderness, of whom General Superintendent Randall is now has a leading role there. Now a globally respected collaboration of more than 200 national and local conservation-minded agencies. His work focuses on protecting wildlife and habitat and creating a culture of conservation through which people and nature can reestablish compatible relationships. If there's anything that underscores this man's mission, it is that focus that he has on protecting wildlife and habitat and creating a culture of conservation. He has probably been singly the most important motivator and inspirational person in developing the volunteer system, not only here at Orland Grassland, but throughout Cook County. I can't even imagine how many miles are on that man's boots from leading hikes and going through forest preserves, just doing outreach for people and educating and inspiring them. So, Stephen, if you would like to have some comments with us, we'd love to hear them.
I think I can speak for many brush cutting and seed gathering and weed pulling and educational event organizing, celebration organizing volunteers when I say that working with all the wonderful agencies represented here today and the volunteers is one of the privileges and pleasures, one of the highlights of my life. And I think many people would say the same thing, that the Orland Grassland has been a great ecological drama and a great human drama. And I'll say a couple of words about both. I want to describe a scene early on in the project. A number of people here and I were out with loppers and handsaws, cutting brush, opening up a little piece of the savanna, admiring the oaks, building a bonfire. There's a huge bonfire up in smoke. All of a sudden, I said, wait a minute, let's stop and be quiet for a minute. There's something exciting going on here. While we were opening this up, there were 3 male bluebirds competing to see who would be the boss of this new habitat and trying to chase each other out of there while the bonfire was blazing. And stopping for that moment gave us a chance to hear another sound, which we heard. Let's see how many people recognize my imitation of this other sound. What is it? Sandhill cranes, a large flock of sandhill cranes, recently extinct as a breeding bird in Illinois, but coming back to habitats like this, had not landed here for generations, but they do fly over. And there was this big flock of sandhill cranes flying over. They take advantage of air currents. They don't flap any more than they need to. And there was a thermal current coming up from this big bonfire. And these sandhill cranes circled right over our heads, making their loud calls, these ancient 20-million-year-old species. And we thought we were so privileged to see that. And the sandhill cranes looked down at the starting to open grassland that had been recently burned, and they said, "Ah, the heck with this migration." And the whole flock landed at the Orland Grassland, where we're a group of slack-jawed volunteers were speechless for some time. And that's been typical of many of the wonderful dramas that have unfolded here. The ponds, which had been, originally they were ponds here, then they were drained for agriculture. That added to flooding downstream, siltation. Now the ponds are back and they're filled with birds like bald pates and blue-winged teal and shovelers and Sora rails and Virginia rails. We see their pictures constantly on the Orland Grassland website. But that's the natural drama. The human drama is so powerful and so important. And let me give a little more credit. Golly, we could give credit all day long, and that would be well deserved. But then again, it would be tiresome to people's legs. I would say the person who gets the credit for starting the Orland Grassland project was Jerry Sullivan of the Forest Preserve District of Cook County. He recognized at the Orland Grassland and nearby Bartell sister projects when they got started, we're losing something important here. We don't have the resources. How do we get them? Red-tailed hawk flying over. These are our little dramas here. They just happen all the time. Thank you, Red-tail. That was very good. That was brought to us by communications from the Forest Preserve District of Cook County, like the weather.
Yeah, right, sure. Brings every event, right.
Jerry Sullivan looked around and said, "Where could we get resources from?" Next key person, Gene Seller of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Gene, among other things, had been alert to polluters, and the Army Corps went after them. And one of them said, "We don't want this to go to court. What if we pay a substantial amount of money, about $8 million? Would that get us off the hook? Would that do more good than we did harm?" In steps Jerry Edelman, who says, "Give that money to open lands. We will do a much more efficient job of spending it than any other way." And that happened. There was the $8 million that helped start the Orland Grassland. When we thought this was when many people thought this was an important project, there were people within the Forest Preserve District like Jerry that were advocating for it. Others, prior to Superintendent Randall's leadership, said, "We just started another big project over at Bartell. We've got a little too much on our plate." And it kind of stalled. Joe Roth from Open Lands said, "Let's find out what the problem is here." He came back and said, Forest Preserve leadership said, there'd probably be objection to it from the local community. They're used to it just sitting there like it was. Joe goes to Mayor Dan McLaughlin. The mayor becomes a strong advocate for the project. Joe thinks it's going to move ahead. He goes back to Forest Preserve leadership, who said, yeah, he supports it, but as soon as we start anything, his board will start something. So the mayor got a unanimous vote of the board saying, this is going to be a great project. Joe goes back and he gets word, I'm still not sure we want to go ahead, because what about the neighbors? What about the community? So Audubon, Open Lands, and the village organized a little teach-in event at the library, at Village Hall. and said, come out, hear about it, say what you think about this. Representative Gorman, who wasn't even elected to the board at the time, came to the meeting, said, I want to see this place, let's work on it. Not only did nobody say this is a bad idea, a huge number of people volunteered at that meeting to become the Orland Grassland Volunteers. Since then, they've gotten the schools involved, they've got the neighbors involved, they have wonderful events out here constantly. People are growing up in this community, going to the library, seeing the 26-foot mural painted by a National Geographic illustrator showing the Orland Grassland when the restoration is done, full of animals and people and beauty. It's an inspiring event, but it's inspiring because of the volunteers and the organizations that are here today. And congratulations to everyone on this wonderful ribbon cutting ceremony. Thanks, Pat, for organizing it.
Thank you, Stephen. And on behalf of the Orland Grassland volunteers and all volunteers across the county, I want to thank you for your mentorship and your just tireless effort at making the volunteers be the best they can be. So thank you for that. Okay, you mentioned the Army Corps of Engineers, and I think I see some Army Corps of Engineer people, staff out there, and I'd like to introduce them. So Brooke, I know you're out there somewhere. Oh, there you are. Everybody's in their nice Saturday clothes today. I don't recognize anybody. So Brooke, you are here. She has been instrumental in, I would call you the project manager of the Army Corps plan. And she has also been the one to crack the whip on the contractors and make sure they adhere to that plan. And we are very grateful for her for all of her hard work and efforts on their behalf. Are there other Army Corps of Engineer folks here that, okay, and your name again? Vanessa, duh. Vanessa is in the communications department, and she was on the committee to help put this together, the ceremony together. So thank you very much, Vanessa, for that. Okay, so let's see. Then we're going to come home now. We're going to hear from Mayor McLaughlin. Steve did a great job of letting you know how the community just really embraced this project. Mayor McLaughlin, though, is a great supporter and got that going forward on behalf of the community. In his 22nd year as mayor, Orland likes Mayor Dan McLaughlin. In his 22nd year as mayor, he serves on numerous boards and committees, most notably the Northern Illinois Regional Water Supply Planning Group, and currently serves as the executive board secretary of the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus. Mayor McLaughlin has been a tremendous supporter of environmental initiatives and was a strong early supporter of the Grasslands project. Mayor Dan lets us use the Civic Center, and Mayor Dan lets me come to lots of board meetings to say what a great job we're doing out here. And I can actually be witness to the fact that the board, the trustees, the board, they like us too. In fact, one trustee actually volunteered out here a couple times. Another trustee said, when is this going to be done? I mean, let's not stall this around anymore. Let's go. Let's do it. So there is a lot of enthusiasm in the village. In addition, he has created the Orland Open Lands Program in 1998, which has purchased almost 300 acres to preserve, including the Stellwagen Farm and Bowley Farm, and most recently the area between Southwest Highway and Route 45 around 138th Street. You probably can't see it because there's all those trucks and stuff doing the LaGrange Road, but it's there and it will be beautiful. This project will include a nature center and an effort to reestablish the wetland area to attract the egrets and herons back to that used to flock there in large numbers. Dan's support of the grasslands over the years has been a great help in accomplishing our goals, and we are happy to have you here with us again today. Mayor Dan.
Thanks, Pat. Well, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm not sure after all these great speakers what I can add to the mix here today, but I am very happy to be here and very happy to see how far we've come with the grasslands. In 2001, when Jerry Sullivan with the Forest Preserve District first contacted Open Lands to start this major restoration process, everyone knew this was a major undertaking. but everyone also knew that it would be worth it. To bring back to Illinois an authentic grasslands that have become so rare would be something everyone could feel good about leaving to future generations. The Village of Orland Park was very excited about partnering on and supporting this project early, and it fit well with a community surrounded by beautiful forest preserves, open space, and our park system. This makes Orland Park unique. And the Army Corps of Engineers getting involved in removing the drain tiles placed there so many years ago by farmers trying to irrigate their farms and prevent flooding of their crops has brought back the original wetland to this property, and in turn returned this land to its prehistoric ecosystem. But separate from the involvement of the Forest Preserve District, Open Lands, Army Corps of Engineers, Village of Orland Park, we would not be where we are today with this project if it wasn't for the hundreds of volunteers spending thousands of hours over the last 10 years. If I have one purpose here today, it's to thank all of those volunteers. You have made a difference.
Thank you, Mayor Dan. Okay, what we've seen here today is, as we told you, what it takes in collaboration and planning to make something like this begin. One of the messages we got today is that although we have put years and years into this restoration effort and millions of dollars into this restoration effort, what we have today is a launch forward. This means that we are going to go forward for decades and more decades in restoring this great place to what it can be in a native way. So thanks to all of our partners for doing that and giving this to us. We have a closing ceremony here. 5 years ago when the Army Corps got started, we all gathered around the ribbon, or I don't even remember if there was a ribbon, but we all gathered around here in the lot and we tossed some seeds together. Those seeds have grown remarkably. Figuratively, literally, they've grown. Today what we're going to do is our honored speakers find loppers next to their chair. All right, we're going to invite them to cut the ribbon today, and what the loppers signify is work going forward to make this the greatest place ever.